Hi, welcome. I'm Fiona Watt. This is Mind Over Matter TV, episode 6. Today we are discussing mental health, and on this segment specifically mental health and motherhood. I'm joined by Laura, who is the founder of the 5am Mama, which is a loungewear brand that specialises in organic and sustainably sourced loungewear. Laura, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. So, the 5am Mama focuses on loungewear that really facilitates all of the ins and outs of the everyday life of a mum or a carer. Can you tell me a little bit about why you initially started the brand?
Yeah, so the idea initially came to me when I was on maternity leave with my second daughter. So after I had my first daughter, I felt very alone in how I was feeling mentally. I wasn't prepared for feeling anything other than love and joy after I had a baby, and everything I saw on social media at the time was so glossy and perfect and everyone else seemed to have it together. I just felt like I was completely alone in how I was coping with those first few months of motherhood. So second time round, thankfully I felt a lot better, but still very sleep deprived.
Yes.
And when I was getting up at 5 o'clock every morning with my daughter, I was thinking to myself, I don't want other mums to feel how I felt the first time. I want to put something out there that makes people feel like a sense of togetherness and like they can relate to what I've been through and what I'm going through now.
And on that point of when you talk about putting things out there, I've noticed that how you brand the 5am Mama, your marketing strategy is always so community focused. It's really inclusive, supportive, very humorous, always very real. So why did you make that conscious decision to market your brand in that way?
That was a huge driving force for the whole idea from the brand, to be honest, is that I wanted it to be that relatable content that mums would see and just resonate with, and it would give them a boost and make them feel like that they were going through similar things and that they could share it with their friends and feel kind of connected to the brand in that way. So yes, it is a loungewear brand. Yes, we make really cute mum and kid matching sweatshirts and pajamas, but there's so much more to it to that.
And there are elements of motherhood that can be very isolating. As wonderful as it is, there are 3am feeds and
yeah, so I think one of the things that I really wanted to get across was that if you are doing a 3am feed and you're wearing the pyjamas, you can look down and know that you're not the only one who's awake at that time.
Yes.
You're in the club, you're in the 5am club.
Exactly, and there's no better feeling of when you are sleep deprived and doing a 3am feed, sending a message out on maybe your mum's WhatsApp group and getting replies immediately because everybody's going through the same thing.
Exactly.
You also get involved with charity work. Can you tell me a little bit about the campaign you're working on at the moment?
Yes, so I am a partner of Pandas Foundation, which is very close to my heart. They are a charity that focuses on maternal mental illness, so postnatal depression and things like that, and they really support mothers, fathers and carers through that time. So I first partnered with them back in May. I created a tote bag around carrying the mother load.
I'm laughing because, well, you know why. Because it
You
sold
tried to
out.
get one.
Exactly, it sold out so fast, and I was too slow off the mark that I couldn't get one.
Yeah, it was a huge success. It sold out in 24 hours.
Amazing.
So I'm very thankful to everyone who bought one. And this time round, they have Pandas Awareness Week coming up in October. So I've created an umbrella for them, and the idea is that the whole campaign is centered around whatever the weather, because they are there whatever the weather. So we're encouraging people to share a selfie with an umbrella. It doesn't have to be the branded one, but obviously we'd love it if it was. And then use the hashtag so that we can kind of show everybody coming together and supporting the charity.
So when exactly in October is
The
it?
9th to the 15th.
The 9th to the 15th.
Yes.
And what is the hashtag to use?
Whatever the weather.
Whatever the weather. Fantastic. So speaking about changing times and changing weather, if you had a time machine and you could go back to calmer days, maybe when you were pregnant or even before that, when you were thinking about taking that initial leap into becoming a parent, what advice would you give yourself, or what advice do you wish you had been given at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say don't think that it can't happen to you, because before I had children, I was, pretty okay. I never really had any mental health issues. I kind of got through life pretty easily. Whatever I set my mind to, I felt like I could achieve and do it quite well. So the fact that when I became a mum and I didn't feel like I was doing it very well and I didn't feel right at all, it really took me aback, and I wasn't expecting it, and I wasn't prepared for the feelings that I felt. I felt ashamed and I didn't talk about it. And I think a lot of mums feel like that. You feel like you're failing, you feel like you're a bad mum because you're not enjoying every minute, or you're not feeling a certain way that you thought you were meant to feel in that moment. So
thank you so much for opening up in that way.
yeah.
I feel really called to put into context as well. People can experience postnatal depression for a whole range of reasons, but I also know that in your specific case, you had a very, very traumatic birth, and you had a lot of physical healing
Yes.
to do. And hearing you speak now is so wonderful. You're being so honest and open about a sensitive subject, but I also feel like you're being quite hard on yourself, because I know what you went through, and that would affect anybody.
Yeah, it was a really difficult time. It was a very long labour, very difficult birth, very difficult long recovery afterwards. So yeah, all of that kind of coupled with all the change in general, just my whole life was flipped upside down, and I think it just, it completely took me off guard. I was not expecting any of that.
That's what I found with my motherhood experience as well, is when people would ask me what was it like going from one child to two or two to three. For me, I've always felt the biggest impact was 0 to 1. That's when life changed.
Exactly.
1 to 2, it's like, it's already chaos, come on in. 2 to 3, the more the merrier. But it's that initial change and that physical healing that has to be done, and that cocktail of hormones after giving birth as well.
Yeah, and it's just so hard to prioritise yourself in your own recovery, because you have a baby to look after, and they're very demanding. They need feeding. They're up all night. It's not easy to catch up on sleep. I remember, I just wasn't prepared. I said to my husband that we did more research before we had a dog than we did before we had a baby. We just did not consider any of this, and yeah.
I think that leads me really nicely into the last question I wanted to ask you is, during that whole time, well, it's ongoing, it's forever. Once you have children, you're a parent and a carer forever. But how did you find having a support network, whether that was professionals to speak to, your family and friends, work colleagues, other parent and carer friends? How has that helped in your journey, and how does it help in your everyday, having that support network to speak to?
Yeah, it's hugely important. I mean, just talking is just like therapy to anyone, whoever you talk to, and that was the point where I started to feel better, was when I admitted to my husband at first, I'm not feeling right, I'm not feeling myself. This is why I'm reacting to these situations in a certain way. This is what's going on in my head. And he did not understand. It's so different for fathers, I think. And a lot of the time they feel helpless in the situation. So just talking about it and bringing them into how you're feeling
and
is
putting into
really
context
important.
what may seem like such strange or out of character behaviour,
Yes.
to actually explain where that's coming from.
Exactly. You're getting annoyed with them for not unloading the dishwasher. Well, it's not really about the dishwasher.
Yes. Yeah.
It's everything else that you've bottled up, and it just comes out in that moment.
And has that had a positive impact on your relationship, having that communication?
Yeah,
with each other?
definitely. And we've been through a lot over the last 6 years since we became parents, and I think we've definitely grown and become closer because we have had to go through these things. But beyond that, I've got a group of friends, and opening up to them as well. You've realised other people are feeling similar ways too, and that they don't necessarily want to talk about it until you say something, and they're like, yes, do you know what, I feel the same, and that really helps.
Normalise having these conversations.
Yeah. So
Laura, you've been absolutely fantastic. Thank
you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for opening up. This is Mind Over Matter TV, episode 6. See you next time.